Make sure there's nothing on the table, no debris, no scraps, otherwise you won't get an accurate line. An accurate layout of this is absolutely critical. So using your pencil, just scribe a nice sharp line there, flip it around, and do the same thing. Okay, lay it on the side. Do the same thing there. Same thing there on both sides, because we're going to be coming from both sides with our chisel. Okay, then we take our second one, stack it on top of the first, draw our second line. On both sides, like so. Now, we're not going to stack it for our second line right here, because our chisel is going to determine that width. Okay, so you can either leave it just as it is and line our chisel up with the line we have, or you can take the chisel and lay it right on that line and draw the second line in just like so. Okay, so we now have our two mortises laid out on this end of the board on both sides. It's important the way that I'm sitting. So I want to be able to see that the chisel, when I line it up on my line, I want to be able to see that it's vertical. Okay? If I was facing this way, I wouldn't be able to see if the chisel was tilted one way or the other. I want us to see that it's vertical. Okay. Now we never chisel a mortise with the grain. That becomes just a wedge. If you tap that with a mallet, it will split the grain right along there. We just want to tap it in, go down 1/16 of an inch at most, and just take out a little wedge at the beginning. Turn our chisel over, same grip, right on the shoulder of the chisel, and we're going to take a little tiny slice out of this corner here. Once we have that shoulder, we'll go down another about 1/16 of an inch, take another little wedge out. Resist the temptation to pry up to get that little sliver of wood out of there. If you're going to get that out, put it in here and push it out that way. Okay, if you pry up here, you're going to blow out the grain that's on the surface, and we want to keep that looking very nice. So we can see how far we've gone down. Once we get about that deep, then we will start tilting our chisel a little bit, just a couple degrees, so that we get an undercut. Okay, and we want to be really careful that we stay within our pencil lines on either side. If we drift one way or the other, then when we come through from the back side, we're not going to line up. It won't be an accurate hole. And I'm about halfway now. I'm going to flip this board around, because I always want to work against this shoulder. So I'm going to do this side. And remember, the first one is the most important one. And you do have to be careful not to hit too hard on the mallet. Especially once we've done one side and we're doing the other side, this end piece right here, because this is quarter sawn wood, the grain is running vertical here. So right along these two grain lines here, it's easy to split this piece. It'll pop right out. If you really, because this is just end of the chisel tip is just a wedge. And if you drive it in too far, it will just pop that piece right out the backside. And eventually, as we go down here, we'll hit air, go through right to the other side, which is what I've just done right now. When we've done from both sides, we should have this little pyramid or triangle of wood in the center. It's actually in 3 dimensions, a diamond. We just need to knock that out now. We've gone through on both sides of it, so we just need to tap it out, like so. We can push that waste out. Okay, and we should end up with a hole looking like that. You can see the insides here still have some rough knobs on the cheeks of them, and we're going to clean those out with a 1/2 inch chisel in just a minute. Okay, so we have the wood now, it's clamped on the bench vise. I have a 1/2 inch chisel, a 12mm chisel, so we can now clean up these cheeks that are on the inside of the mortise. Again, 2 hands on the chisel always. We get the one front corner of the chisel inside the cheek so that we can then rotate that chisel in. And we're just going to work from this side into the center. Okay, we don't want to take anything off this outside edge. We've worked hard to keep that nice and clean and crisp. We just want to clean this out of the middle. It doesn't have to be pretty. Okay, we just want to make room for tenon. So we'll work in, we'll even undercut it slightly. Okay, get all those little bits and pieces out of there. Any fuzz that's there, just get that out with your finger. You might have to cut right into the corner. Okay. Don't go all the way through and out the other side. If you do that, you can risk having some of the grain fall off the backside, splinter out. What we'll do is we'll turn this board around, flip it around so that we can work it from this side as well.